Welcome everybody to another episode of the Limitless Woman Podcast. I am Gina, your African holistic mystic. I am a coach, intuitive alchemist, and intuitive coach. I guide women through their strength to be stronger, to shine their light, and to be all that they can in the world. I run sister circles, this podcast, Black Inventing Room, Parent Inventing Rooms, a multitude of things. And today I'm really honored and very grateful to have Luke Scott on here today. Luke is a quantum healing. Oh, I've got lost. This is me doing my live as usual and messing up a little bit. Quantum healer and journalist, a father of three, an amazing magician, TV host. Wow, what doesn't Luke do? I don't know. It's so many things. I'm going to hand over to you, Luke, before I mess up any more of your introduction.
Thank you. Thanks, Gina.
So,
Yeah, I do so many things, and I've been on a journey the last 10 years of figuring out what I want to teach. And I run workshops, retreats, I have my own podcast, radio show, TV shows, everything. And it's a lot about what you do as well, Gina. It's figuring out how to make people more powerful. And the flip side of it is it's actually a little bit selfish of me why I do it because I really enjoy being around powerful people and I really enjoy being around abundant people and people who are joyful. And I realize that most people are not that. So I want to make everybody more joyful, more abundant, more powerful, and then they're more fun. So
yeah,
if you want to be more fun, stick around. Let's figure out how we can help you remember who you are because when you remember who you are joyful. That's like the truth.
yeah, absolutely. And I do. One of my, I mean, I love following you anyway because you're just a powerhouse, and you just really champion all of what we're talking about here. And I find it so inspiring to watch and listen to a lot of the stuff you do. And I know, and I see all the comments of people that have worked with you and experienced stuff that you do. And one of the things that really drew me to you for to invite you onto the show was this. I'm on the mission to break this narrative that the war of the sexes, that men hate women and vice versa, because all I seem to see on social media are either women with really good followings just completely berating men at every given point, or vice versa, men doing the same. And it's kind of one of the reasons I joined the Black Men's venting room, because it was to just say, look, come on, let's see what's going on here, because how can we all be so hateful to each other when actually the thing that makes the world go around is love and unity. So I've met your family, gorgeous children and everything, and I just so adore the connection that you have with your wife, and your just the love and just the consciousness that you two seem to have about your relationship. Um, and so, with that in mind, I invited you onto this show so that I could hear more. Oh dear, I'm done something there. Hear more about all of that. Um, So I generally just go through a few questions and things so that you can, and just jump in whenever you feel like. But one of the main things. Oh, and also to anybody watching, if you like this show, if you're enjoying anything that we're talking about, follow us and reshare, please, and subscribe. That would be fantastic. And also, when I finish, you'll be able to find all the information about Luke in the comments, and I'll get him to share some exciting stuff at the end too. Um, can you tell me? I would ask, because I see so much joy and everything, and I think sometimes people are like, "Oh, yeah, but it's all right for you. You're happy. You're this, then that, the other." But what could you say would have been one of your biggest challenges that you faced as a man to overcome within a relationship? Have you found that there were things that you had to learn differently or do differently in order to make what you have work so well?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I met my wife in 2015, And when I met her, I was 27 years old. And she changed my whole perception on women. She changed my whole life. She was this big awakening, and we became best friends. And I got to marry my best friend, which was incredible. And so I kind of had this before 2015 Luke and his way he interacted and related with people. And then after 2015, which was way better for me and much more enjoyable. So I grew up in this little small seaside town, and it was a bit weird because I did have this perception that there was a divide between men and women. Like typically the more powerful, more successful people I grew up around were men, and the women were more kind of like at home looking after the kids, right? And they didn't have as many ambitions. And I even think when I was at school, I remember I'm like, where are the ambitious women? There just weren't that many of them. And it, because it was a small town, like even the guys weren't that ambitious, right? So then I moved to London and I met all of these like supercharged, superpowered, ambitious people, and my wife was one of those people. And she had these ideas to speak at the UN and end human trafficking and do all of these like cool things. And I'm like, wow, this is a supercharged, feminine, and it was amazing. And then I reflected and I'm like, well, why were the people where I grew up so disempowered? And it's mostly, I believe, because of the education that we had. Like they weren't told that you can be anything you want to be. They weren't told, like most people didn't read books, they didn't go to self-development. But I met my wife at a public speaking, a training event. We were there at a self-development event, both learning how to be more confident public speakers. So I realized, well, if we can get more of those women, girls, like I'm a dad to three daughters. I've got a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 10-week-old, right? So I'm raising three supercharged, superpowered women. And the education that they're getting from birth is that they can be anything they want to be, do anything they want to do. If they really, really want to go for something, like I'll help them. They're supported in that. And I think it's a shame, Gina, that so many of these other people weren't.
Mm,
And so when I met my wife in 2015, I did recognize most of the women I'd met, even I'd been in a long-term relationships, they weren't that ambitious. They weren't in their power, and it was weird.
mm,
Now, flash forward to meeting you, to meeting our friend Eugenia who introduced us, and now I'm surrounded by goddesses. Right now, I'm surrounded by all of these people. But I still do think it's the minority. And there's a famous public speaker. He was one of Tony Robbins' mentors, and he reckons that only about 10% of people do self-development, and about 90% of people don't. And in
wow.
America, the statistic is 80% of people never read a book once they get out of high school. So
What?
if you think about it that way, there's so many people who, in the previous model of the world, didn't have a powerful, empowering role model to look up to. But now, thanks to social media, any teenager on TikTok can subscribe to your channel. Anyone on Facebook or YouTube can subscribe to your channel. Like it's changed the game.
Mm,
Everyone can either access that. Obviously, they can watch trash as well if they want, right? But they can come and see an embodied, empowered person. So I think this is a game changer.
mm.
And I really am thankful that I was brave enough to get out of my comfort zone, move to a different city, and be able to be surrounded by all of these people from different cultures, from different backgrounds who were ambitious. And if you are watching this now and you are from a small town, that's not the whole world. Like, go and experience the world, go and meet people who are like more in their power, and it will rub off on you in the most positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so. I love what you just said there because it does sound like when I speak that I don't like social media, but I think social media is actually an amazing tool when used for sharing amazing stuff like what you're talking about. And actually, I think the reason why I wanted to break the narrative is because I was seeing people with so much influence just going after the negative and the energy draining stuff. So I love that you're talking about talking to people, watching wherever they are, and giving them clues and tips to actually channel themselves into something different. And that's amazing what you said about there only being such a small number of people that do personal development, or like in America. Well, I mean, judging by the way things are going in America, the not reading the book thing is not as much of a surprise. But I do think that it makes you then think, wow, how fortunate we are that we took that path, that we decided to do this and share it and keep on sharing it and keep on sharing it, because it's so needed right now. That energy, that vibe that you're putting into the world is absolutely needed. And I love that what you said about meeting a powerhouse woman. I love that because I think sometimes it's given a bit of a negative, women being powerhouse, as if to say that's too much, or too whatever. So I love that you champion that, because I think that makes that, to me, is probably quite a significant thing in terms of you and your wife getting together and being lasting so long, because the way you support her and your daughters is amazing. And I would ask you now, because oh no, that is really, what inspires you most to to integrate and to integrate all this into your life every day?
I used to be really unhappy and abusing alcohol, abusing drugs, abusing sex, like trying to find happiness somehow
Mm,
outside of us using some kind of substance or some stimulation, right?
mm,
And that was my life most of the time, and that was just normal where I'm from, right? People just did that. That's what everybody did, and that's what everybody still does, who I know
mm,
pretty much.
mm.
But I knew it wasn't right for me. And I had this awakening in 2016. It's where I got this connection to what I call the divine, right? Whatever you call that, this bigger part of you, this intelligence that creates everything. Like I was in a meditation. I'd been studying meditation for about 6 months and I got this connection and it changed my whole life. And ever since that day, I've had this inner peace. But I used to have inner anger. Used to be so angry with everything. And I know that's very common in a lot of guys and women, right?
Yeah,
Regardless of a lot of people are angry because we live in a system that's broken, right? It's a
yeah,
system sick and it doesn't, for the most part, it doesn't encourage people to be unique, self-expressed, empowered. You're kind of pulled down a lot of the time by family or friends unless you are privileged enough to grow up around some
yeah,
superpowered people. And so I know what that feels like when I'm living, I call it unaligned. And I just can't do it to myself anymore, Gina.
yeah,
Oh, it's very rare now I do something I don't want to do. It's very rare I do something that's out of alignment.
yeah.
And it took a lot of tough conversations. I studied conscious relating. I started running conscious relationships workshops, started like sitting in circle with people, like you said, right?
Yeah.
And I understand other people more and understanding myself more. And I got a great book here. It's one of my favorites. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale
Oh,
Carnegie.
oh, I've heard of that. That looks good.
Mm.
How
And
to win friends. I'm going to make a note of that. Yeah.
great book if you want to try and understand how people work and how you can relate to people. And what I believe is that if we can get
Yeah.
enough of us to
Yeah.
all have this awareness and to all be in love and unity and kindness and compassion, at least kind and compassionate,
Yeah.
I, we can create a new society that actually encourages us to shine instead of trying to dampen us and dim us and keep us suppressed. And this
Yeah.
is the big opportunity I see now in our lifetime, especially with the internet now, and especially
Yeah.
with media. For the first time ever, I can make one video and reach 1 million people,
Yeah.
more than 1 million people. And I have done that on my social media channels. One of my videos had 6 million views, right? Which is incredible.
Wow.
And this is the
Amazing.
potential we have now. So I don't want to waste this. I want to
Mm.
capitalize on this and get as many people as possible excited to create this new way of being. So when my kids grow up, or when my grandkids grow up, they will be so comfortable expressing themselves. No one will tell them to be quiet. No one will tell them they're not enough. That won't even exist
Mm,
anymore. War won't even exist anymore, Gina. No one will be poor.
mm,
Everyone will have food. Everyone will have, they'll be living in a way where their basic needs are taken care of, and we can do that because we can reach.
yeah.
You can reach people. I can reach people, and everyone watching this, you can start your own. You can just open your phone, start a
Mm,
YouTube channel, and start your own podcast. Yeah,
yeah,
never been a possibility before. We're the first generation of.
true that. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it's starting your own podcast is something that it's so there's so many things. I was speaking to somebody just today, and we were talking about it was one of the women that I coach, and she said she's talking about being more visible. And I was like, it's just do it. Like share it in the group, share it in this. And it was interesting the stories we tell ourselves, we put in front of ourselves, not to go further. But actually, there's so much more opportunity nowadays to do things than we actually realize. Even every time, every generation is different, but every generation has this bonus about that time. And I feel like this is the time where all of us can achieve anything. So it's easy to get bogged down with the negative. And I did for a little while, ranting and raving about different things. And then I just realized how much energy it was taking from me. And I was like, I am going to ignore. And I just switched it off, and then all of a sudden I'm focusing and I can see all these beautiful things again. I can see all the love, I can see all these positive things in the world. And I'm like, okay, great. So it just depends on what you want to achieve. And I love what you just said about being in a space where you're so aligned that you never do anything you don't want to do. That is so many people do not have that. Like they don't realize they have that choice, but and so therefore they don't have it. So I just think, wow, I'm excited. I'm also excited to watch your new program that you said you've started. I know you've done TV before, but anything new from you is always something to have a look at, I think. What do you think the misconceptions are about women and men that you think we need to address?
Mm. Things have changed so much since when I was born. I was born in the 1980s.
Mm,
And back then, things were really different. Right? If you've ever studied women's rights in the UK, right? And I know in other countries, it's completely different as well. My wife's from Pakistan. So women's rights changed in the 1980s in a really positive way, right? And since then,
mm,
it's become more and more and more and snowballed. But
mm,
even back when I was born, women had very different rights to men.
mm,
And in Pakistan, we watched a documentary recently, and the husbands, and this is not just about Pakistan, this happens in other countries too. The husbands still have rights over the wives. Like you can just put your wife in a mental asylum if they're annoying you. And you just pay
mm,
the doctor and they just say, yep, she's crazy, and they just lock her up. And there was this
mm.
documentary of this woman who'd been locked up for over 10 years. She did nothing wrong. Her husband just didn't like her. But
Wow.
because of the society, they will listen to the man over the woman.
Mm,
So, so like that is still very present in our conscious
mm,
collective consciousness. Right? There are these things that are really crazy happening in the world.
mm, mm.
And empowered women who used to speak out could have been given lobotomies in the 1940s. Do you know
Yeah.
in the 1940s and 50s, I'm a hypnotherapist, so I learn about all different therapy techniques and I help people to like reprogram their minds. And in the 1940s and 50s, they used to advertise in newspapers, are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling depressed? Have a lobotomy. Right? And you could just send your wife to get a lobotomy. They literally put a needle through your tear duct and they take out the part of your brain that feels emotions, right? And you become more numb. And so there were real consequences to speaking out, being in your truth, and then look at
Mm,
things like what happened where they would just accuse someone of being a witch, right? And
mm.
It's a big trauma I do with a lot of my clients if they're
mm,
scared to speak out, men and women. Like, were they
mm.
persecuted for speaking out at some point? Is that in your genetics? Because you have these genetic memories that get passed through your ancestry, right? And
Okay.
many people who spoke out against the government, many people who spoke out against their bosses, right, or their head of their household or their father, they were
Mm,
punished, severely. Um, so all of this is there to like be worked on, and it's deep, deep stuff.
mm.
It's why I think what you're talking about is so important because if we actually sit together and we get to know each other and we learn about each other, it's not like that anymore for most people. We don't live in
Yeah,
those times anymore, but
yeah,
that charge is still there.
yeah,
You can go against what your family say now if you want to, and you can go and build a life yourself. You can go and get a job. You can sustain yourself, right? That
yeah,
wasn't possible 100 years ago, not very easily in the
yeah,
1990s. If you, as a woman, went against your father or husband, you were in trouble, really serious
yeah,
trouble.
yeah,
So it's a really special time, Gina. And I think the more we talk these things through, the better it's going to be. We're privileged in the West because we're, 20 years ahead in terms of self-development and rights compared to some of these other countries, perhaps. But this is still happening to billions of people worldwide. So I do something called human rights activism. I also do animal rights activism. I like to
okay.
raise awareness about all of this stuff, and we have plans, me and my wife, to build orphanages. We call them children's homes, right? We want to build these all around. We want to build healing centers where we can help people escape domestic violence and things, because
Mm,
that that threat that men have had for a long time of being able to like physically dominate or control your food or whatever it is, that's becoming less and less
mm,
powerful now, thankfully.
mm.
So I think it's important for us to all get together, find a way to talk, find a way to communicate, give voice to people who might be in distress right now, or who have been
Mm,
hurt or abused by
mm,
men, or who have been hurt and abused by women, because it goes both ways.
mm, mm,
And it's a great time for us to heal that generational trauma,
mm,
come together in unity, like conscious parenting, conscious relating, all of these conscious things are now so present. There's many books,
mm.
many trainings. It's a real nice time, and
Yeah,
yeah, I think, I believe, my personal experience is that we are in a much better place now than we've been in a long, long time.
yeah. I love that. I love what you're saying because, again, there is so much out there that makes everything seem so doom and gloom, and I think there is an underestimation about how much good is actually there and pushing through, and how much we can do. It feels like there's a massive feeling of powerlessness. As you said, with this generational trauma, where we read so much, and it always, which is kind of what I was sort of maybe making a bit light of earlier on, where I said I had to stop looking at some things because sometimes I'll give voice to something, but if I spent all my time, I could really just be down in the doldrums thinking that everything's the worst. But actually, when you reconnect and you do this, like talking to you and being in the circles that we're in, we see that there is so much more good in there. And that actually, if we come together, the misconception is that we are all not together. And that's why I love this. That's why I love this dialogue. It's just about actually, there is so much more togetherness than people realize. But when you're in your little box and you got your blinkers on, it feels like there's nothing, or all you see is all the negative, and actually, there's so much more. So I love that. Woo, get through my questions. Oh, I like this one. Well, kind of. How do you personally navigate misunderstandings or communication barriers in your relationship?
Yeah, it's one of my
You
favorite things
see.
to talk about. So me and my wife do these things called relationship meetings.
Oh, I love it.
You can do them with your friends, you can do them with your family. I do this with my wife's family. So we started doing a Friday evening, we'd all come together and we'd have a family meeting. And we'd all just talk about what's working well in the family, what's not working well in the family, what things would we love to do more of together, what things do we want to not do more of, what and create a vision together. Okay, what things could we put in the next couple of weeks that would bring us closer together? What things
Yeah,
this year do we want to book any holidays? Do we want to book a trip? Do we want to do something, And just making that time. Think of it like if you're having a business, if anyone's ever worked in a corporate company
yeah,
before, you have regular team meetings.
yeah.
A daily meeting with your manager, you might have a weekly meeting with your boss, and you might have a monthly meeting with your board. Right? And
Mm,
if you approach relationships a little more like that, it works so nicely because it tells someone they're important to you. And I
yeah,
know some people think it's a little bit left-brained. And there's this thing as well. I have a company called the Academy of Conscious Sexuality. So we run events about intimacy, relationships.
yeah,
We help people with all of that. And some people think that this kind of lefty brain stuff is not very sexy. But for me, it's really sexy because this creates really solid boundaries. So you can all consent to things. And then from
yeah,
that, way more fun. Like, there's more freedom in that, but it's foreign because we used to live in tribes and we would all sit around a campfire together and we'd all talk,
yeah,
have circles, and we'd all listen to each
yeah.
other. We've lost that. Most people, when they sit with their family, and this is a cool thing, we're coming up to the holiday festive period here now. You might be listening to the podcast at a different time. But I love asking people, so when you're with your family, how honest are you? How much of your real self do you show your family? Like, do you
Mm,
really tell them what you think? Do they know what you feel? Do you feel safe to tell your family what you're up to at the moment? Do you feel safe to tell your family what your passions are? Or do you just pretend? And almost everybody pretends to a
yeah,
very degree. And I'm one of the few people, I don't know what percentage it is, right? But it's the minority.
yeah,
Like, I'm just real with people.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's challenging sometimes with my wife. So my wife's from Pakistan, her family are Muslim. And so it's a different culture to me. I'm from England and my family are atheist, right? So East meets West, really, it's a fun one to play with. Thankfully, I do have a deep connection with God, with the divine, with Allah, with whatever you like to call it. So
yeah,
that helps to
yeah.
mediate things. Um, I really speak my truth. I really tell people, like, well, as much as they're willing to receive. I don't believe it's kind to overload on people if they don't consent.
Mm,
Have little questions and little
nice.
games. Check if they're willing to go deeper with me.
Mm,
This is a top tip, everybody. I can recommend in whatever relating you're doing, if it's a friend or a family member or a lover or whoever. You could say something like this. So you could go and sit next to your mum or your nan or your auntie or your fiance and just let them know that they're really important to you
mm,
and that you'd love to spend some more time with them. You'd love to get to know them better. And would they like to meet up and we can talk about how we can be
yeah,
more connected? And if they say yes, then that opens you to then arrange a relationship meeting with them. So then you meet them and you just say, what could we do together? What would be really fun? What do you love? Tell me about yourself. What's going on in your world right now? What kind of things would you love to do, but you don't have anybody to do them with? And maybe we could do them together. You start to like make plans together. And if they say, no, I'm not interested in connecting with you more deeply, you know where you stand, right? And you don't, and that's okay too. Some people actually know, I'm kind of busy right now. I don't really have time to make another friend. Okay, no
yeah,
problem. But I think a lot of people are scared to have that conversation because they don't want to get rejected or they think it seems rude. But for me, when you are open about your intentions with people, it just leads to so much more joy for everybody. So have regular relationship meetings. I recommend at least monthly with the most important people in your life. So if
mm,
it's with a spouse, your mom, your dad, like at least monthly. But you could go 2 monthly if it was someone who was a bit more distant and just meet up every couple of months and say, how's things going in our relationship?
mm.
Next chapter be for us.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and do you know what you just said made me really think actually, because a lot of the times when you're with your family, you get together with them because of an occasion, which really isn't the time to sit and have the kind of conversation you're talking about, unless you have space. But usually you're there for another reason. So then it's like, you're not. But to actually have a focused relationship meeting and I wonder how many couples even do that. I don't know that. I think sometimes people get together. I know, well, I can speak for myself that I've had long-term relationships, where we've got together and we haven't made an effort for any kind of special relationship meeting. We've just been around each other, maybe done social things together, but not necessarily been like, right, let's have a meeting to talk about. But I do know some people that do that, and I'm always really impressed when I hear that. And running, listening to people all the time and running and sitting in circles. This is the thing that we actively now, it's kind of trendy to have circles. But actually, as you said, circles, whenever I've gone to Nigeria, at some point in the evening, we all sitting around outside together, just sitting together. We don't really do that so much here because everyone's so busy. So I get that sitting in circle. And when there was a sort of village meeting, and so I was sitting with the elders, and then the women were over there with the children, and they were all sitting in circle, just doing each other's hair, talking, and it was just really lovely. But we have to actively find those circles for ourselves here, because I don't know what happens when you get back into London, but it's just everybody's just rushing around, and making time is crazy.
It's a fundamental flaw in how our society is set up,
Mm,
Gene.
mm,
Living so isolated in houses by ourselves is okay, but it's not ideal. Living in a community is more ideal, and having your own space, obviously, where you can go and
yeah,
have your but having some kind of community space where you can go and meet people and hang out and like that for me is what's really missing, especially when 2020 happened, right? That really showed me, whoa, there's almost no community here. And if you're a
no,
vulnerable person, nobody was checking on them, no one was bringing them food, no one like, wow, we need to do better as a society. And so this has been a big driver for me to create community online and in person. And
yeah,
and it really sparked everything for me because when we had our first daughter in 2019, I knew I needed to be around other people. So we were living in London at the time, me and my wife. And if we'd been stayed in London by ourselves, two people in an apartment, it would have been so difficult. So we made a brave step. We moved to Manchester where our family are, so we could have people around. And I'm so thankful that we did because your children get such a more rich upbringing as well. Um,
absolutely.
but here's the challenging piece, right? Most people's families haven't done self-development, so it's not even that pleasant when you go and visit your family, right? It's not that enjoyable. You don't want your kids spending time around their grandparents for most people because they have different morals, different ideas, and this is piece. If we can get more people into education, into self-development, so they become kind, compassionate, open-hearted people, you'll want to spend more time around them. And
Yeah,
is where we're heading. I can't wait until the majority of people, 51% or more, are open-hearted, kind, compassionate, loving, connected. That's when we'll have a massive shift in our world.
I know. And you're right about the living, because actually what my mum did, she doesn't know she's a philanthropist. She get what I mean? Like, it's just her way. She's just grown up doing stuff for her family. And so we had my grandma's house, my granddad's house, she's got her house, my uncle's. So they're all built they're all around each other. So sometimes they all eat together. Everything is so together, and it is that is when you said that, I thought that's what it is. That's what it is. It's all living in a commune. They're living separately, but they're literally on the sort of same grounds. So everyone's going into their own kind of abode, but they're together. And I think I've always romanticized the idea of being living in a commune. I have always romanticized that idea. It's just not formalized yet, but never know. Still plenty of time. But yeah, I love the idea of the meetings, and right, this is one. Ah, I think you'll answer this one quite nicely. What does vulnerability mean to you? And how are you embraced it? How have you embraced it on your journey?
Yeah, my wife helped me with this a lot when we first met, and I used to do used to do a lot of abusing alcohol, and I would abuse other substances as well. And there's certain substances I would take that would I felt like it would crack my heart open, right? Certain pills that you can take that really make you more chatty and open. And I felt like in those moments when I was high, I was very vulnerable. I was kind of like yearning for it, right? I was like reaching out to friends and telling them I love them, which I never used to do, right? Or trying, how I imagined it, it's like you have a treasure chest in your heart. When I would take certain things, it would like open. I would show a bit more of my real self. But then people would mock me or laugh at me or say, "Oh, come on, stop being an idiot," right? And you'd close it again. But then I met my wife and other people like yourself, right? And they would ask me questions and they really want to know what's in the treasure chest. Like they want to know who you are. Like they don't care about the superficial stuff. They're not interested in small talk. They're like, "What's your biggest dream? Like, what keeps you up at night? Like, what are you scared of? You know, what's real?" And I go, "Oh, okay." And you get a chance to like open the treasure chest and show them, "Oh, look, this is who I am," right? And that is how I lead now with people because it's so much more enjoyable than surface small talk, talking about the weather. We used to talk about football all the time, Gina. That was where I was living. It's like everything was football, right? And if you even dared to talk about, I had a troubling childhood. I was traumatic. People just shut you down. It's like no, it's like, my dad was abusive, and I was, no, can't talk about that. It's too deep. Weird. And so
Mm,
again, I moved to London, and I found this group of people who were like so open, and it was medicine. So I lead with vulnerability as long as people are open to receiving it. So I usually ask a question to test the waters. If anyone here is not from England or from the UK, we do this thing when you meet someone, you're like, "How are you doing? How's it going? How are you?" And most people just say, "Yeah, I'm all right," even if they're not, right? Their dad died yesterday. They go, "Yeah, I'm all right." Like, they've just been made redundant. Yeah, it's okay. Or they say, "Not too bad," right? The dog just died. Not too bad. I give it a little invitation. I'm like, "Well,
yeah.
how are you really doing?" And you see people do a double take. They're like, "Oh, do you actually want to know the real answer?" Like, yeah, I want to know the real answer. But it's just this weird greeting we do, right? Where we kind of don't
Mm,
really care. We're just being polite, but it's nonsense, nonsensical. So I lead with it, and I'll usually lead with vulnerability first. I'll say something cool if someone says, "Oh, how are you doing?" I'll say, "Do you want to know the short answer or do you want to know the real answer?" And they'll go, "Yeah, the real answer." And I'll say, "Okay, great, come sit down, let's talk." And it's not just a passing comment then, it's an
yeah,
actual interaction with another human. So
yeah, yeah.
I think vulnerability it's a whole thing about our culture where it's not encouraged, and it's because people are ill-equipped, right? We don't even know if someone says, "Actually, yeah, I'm feeling a bit suicidal at the moment. I don't really know what to do." Uh, just go into a flap because they've got no coaching skills, right? No idea how to navigate this because we're from a young age, we're not taught how to deal with these things. But in other cultures, they are. In other cultures, you're taught about emotions, you're taught about mental health. You don't have to pretend. And even when you do pretend, you're called out on it because when you're lying, you're not helping anybody, you're actually hurting other people. And I
Mm,
think that would be a wonderful direction for us to go into where you don't
mm,
trauma dump on people, but you invite them. Like, what level do you want to know? Right?
mm,
Or do you really care? And maybe we
mm,
just stop. asking people how they're doing if we don't care.
True, true. I'm so with you on that. I so many times I notice that when if I message a friend and I go, "How are you?" I will always follow with a few questions because I'm like, I know you're just gonna go, "I'm good," Although I'm guilty of doing the same thing because I think it depends on who's asking, I guess. And I don't know that anybody, like you said, in London, we don't really want to know. It's a pleasantry, a passing commentary. And most people, like you would, if you asked that question, you'd want to know. I know that you'd want to know, but a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I'm all right," as you said, and we don't say anything. Or if people ask me how I am, especially if it's someone I know, and I'm like, "Well, actually," I'll start going into it because I'm like, "You are," seen as you asked, but I'm not sure that everybody, we just don't check in with each other like that. But I'm going to try and be more mindful about that actually, because I know I'm guilty of also being doing the pleasantries, thinking at least I've asked that question and got it out of the way, as if to say like, you know, you must ask that question, and then hopefully you'll just get a, yeah, I'm good, that's it, and then you can carry on talking. But otherwise, most of us are not prepared for that, so it's quite a good thing to think about. And I love that you lead with vulnerability. I love the analogy you gave about the chest, because I'm 21st July, it's a Cancer in Leo, but I've got this thing where I can go right into my shell and I will withdraw real quickly. But I love the chest analogy because that is exactly what it's like when you share with someone. It's just taking a little peek in the box and then you just decide, oh, should I show you this little treat, this trinket in my life, or should I keep it hidden in the back? And yeah, I love that. I'm just going to think about that, and every time I see, I'm going to think about using little treasure box.
Yeah, yeah. Give them a little taster, see if they like it. It's so wonderful, isn't it, when you're with someone and you can show them all of you, and you like can show them,
Mm,
have a look. I don't have to pretend. Oh, I don't have to pretend with you. Oh, cool.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you're as well. Yeah, cool. All right, great. What have you got? What's your superpowers? I like asking people that question. So, what are your super? No, what do you do?
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that so
Yeah.
much. And I get what um, I guess vulnerability is a challenging one for some. Um, I guess I'm thinking about myself in terms of being quite open and being quite vulnerable, and then, like you say, people laughing or that vulnerability being diminished in some way with the interaction that you have. So therefore, people find it harder and harder to be vulnerable because they're scared of opening up. How did you get past that? I guess you're in alignment with yourself, so you just around people that you feel that you can be vulnerable, or does it matter that even if they're not like that now? I mean, how do you feel free to do that?
So one of the things I did was I did a lot of healing. So I met this healer. He's a quantum healer, and I did a 3 month program with him. We did like one session a week for 12 weeks, and we just went into
Wow.
these different things like why have I got this protection? Why have I got this belief? Why have I got this block? And I see it. I explained like I had this icy wall around my heart that was just keeping people out because I
Mm,
was scared. I was scared if people came too close and they got to know me, they could leave. They could betray me, they could hurt me, they could whatever. So it's easier just to never let anybody in. And that was how I lived for like 27 years. And then my wife cracked that wide open, because I felt
mm,
safe with her. I'm like, oh,
mm,
it felt worth the risk of
mm,
exposing that part of me. It was worth it for the reward. And obviously, it might get taken away. That's the nature of loving someone, right? Can it end
mm,
at any time? And so, one of the things that for anybody who is in this place where you are worried about what other people think, you are
mm,
pretending, like go and find some kind of healing, whether you use our curate modality. Curate
mm,
that I teach is like the best thing I ever learned. So that's why I teach it to people. It's so fast. But
mm,
there's many therapy modalities, there's many um, different ways you can get rid of the icy wall, open your heart, like be a person who
mm,
you can love. Getting yourself to a place where you love yourself so much that it doesn't really matter if the other person rejects you is a very powerful place to be.
mm,
Like, I'm amazing. If I'll show you who I am, and if you want to play, great. And if you don't want to play, that's okay too. And
mm,
I kind of see I'm very childlike. I have this big inner child energy. It's one of the things I teach.
mm.
And I'm like going and helping other people who are too serious. I'm like, come on, life's supposed to be fun. Like you've forgotten, right? You've forgotten who you are. And I just shake people up. And I especially love to do this at family events, right? And I especially love to do this at events where I remember we went to a birthday party. And a lot of my wife's family follow, so they'll probably hear this. And my wife said, Luke, just, while we're at the birthday party, just no talking about animal rights, no talking about human rights, no talking about healing. It's the birthday party, it was for a kid, and just be chill, And I said, okay, of course. So for anyone who doesn't know, I've been primarily vegan for 10 years now. I mostly eat fruits. That's like the most of my diet. And I got to this party and I just asked the people, I said, like, I don't eat that kind of food. Do you have any fruits? And they got me an apple and a banana and some oranges. And I just sat there and, at a party where there's cake and, everything that you would normally indulge in. I'm sat in the corner, completely quiet, eating my plate of apples, bananas, oranges. And guess what happens? Everybody comes over. Why are you eating fruit? What are you doing? Oh, you look good actually. Wow, what's your secret? And they're like, by just being, people will come, right? And just by being our authentic self, people will be inspired to be their authentic selves. So I don't even have to go and speak or whatever. I just like be. People are,
Yeah.
you're peaceful. How did you do that? I say, do you really want to know? And they go, yeah. And then boom, the door's open now. I can tell them. I do usually frame it, Gina, in a way that I believe the person will be able to receive.
Yeah. I
So
love that.
that's really important too. If they're like a hardcore Christian or a hardcore Muslim or something, I'll talk more in a way that they might receive. And if they're a super spiritual, what did you call yourself? That African witch something,
African holistic mystic.
holistic mystic. If you tell me you're the African holistic mystic, we're going to have a very different kind of conversation, right? Because I immediately know that I don't have to hold back on a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So there's levels, and it's like that when you date people, right? Think about any interaction is kind of like a date. On
Mm,
kind of testing the water usually, and then you deepen it and you deepen it and you deepen it. That's how I play it. And
mm,
people are just repelled by me. They're like, no way. And other people are magnetized to me. And that's the joy because your people who love you will be magnetized to your light, and the people who aren't for you will be reflected away from you. And that's totally okay. Not
mm,
everybody is your person. Not everyone is supposed to be your best friend. And
mm.
this is my inner truth that really helps me. So I recommend do some healing, learn meditation, go to conscious relationships workshops, figure out who you really are, and then you won't be diminished whether people say, yes, I want to play with you, or no, I don't.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. That's a tip I might have to take. Actually, I would love to hear from you more about your quantum healing, and I'd love to hear more about that. That's something that really does intrigue me. And I want to hear a bit more about your fruit diet. Actually, if you don't
Sure.
mind sharing that, it's gone completely off the but they say I've got you here, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask you about all this. It's juicy.
Sure, sure, sure.
Mm.
So I had this big awakening event in 2016 that I talked about earlier, and I started getting shown things that had never been shown before, right? Wherever you believe that they come from, it's like visions really clearly, and it showed me different ways to live. And I've got so many examples, but like I'll give you one example. So I saw this vision. This was before I had children. I saw this vision of this woman giving birth in a forest. And she was on all fours, like hands and knees, giving birth, and the baby just like slipped out. It looks like a HD movie in my mind, the way that my superpower works. It's called clairvoyance, like being
Mm.
able to see things. and it was painless and effortless, and it just slipped out. And I'm like, whoa, that's kind of like how it works with a lot of animals in the animal kingdom. It's not like a big traumatic ordeal for a lot of them. Sometimes it is. And I said to my wife, I'm like, babe, I think we're giving birth wrong. She's like, she's like, what do you mean? I said, I don't think we're supposed to give birth in a hospital on our back, with our legs in stirrups. I don't think that's the right way. Um, and she said, well, what do you think? And I explained the vision, and she's going, Luke, that's crazy. You have to be in a hospital, right? Because that's our culture. You have to be into this, you have to be into that. So I just went online and I just typed it in, and I found this whole school of birthing called hypnobirthing, right? And that's exactly what you do. You're just on your hands and knees. You can be in a pool or you can have blankets or whatever. And the baby just slips out and it's painless and it can even be enjoyable. And there are these people who are called orgasmic birthing coaches. They say it can be the
Mm.
most orgasmic, blissful experience of your life giving birth. But we're programmed for it to be painful, right? Then we're taught from school, we watch these videos of how painful it is, and on TV and everything. It's always like people screaming. And
Yeah.
so reprogramming how we think about that came from this vision. So then my wife did the hypnobirthing, and then now I teach like anyone who will listen. I'm like, go research this thing, right? Birth doesn't have to be painful. Now, obviously, there's exceptional circumstances, but it's really interesting because I just get shown these things, and then I go and research them, and I realize what I get shown is actually what's more
Mm.
natural, like more
Mm.
close to nature. So I got shown the same with food. I got shown that. What I was eating, my favorite food used to be steak and my favorite drink used to be beer, right? And I was
Mm.
like, when I had this awakening and I became more conscious, I started getting connected. I'm like, well, where did this steak come from? And I could feel the energy of it and see, whoa, it was in a slaughterhouse, it was this, it was in a cage, it was awful. And I remember one time I just like held an egg. I just held it and just to feel the energy of the egg, because you can feel the energy of anything if you're sensitive.
Mm.
Talk to trees, talk to babies, talk to animals,
Mm.
whatever you want. I held the energy of the egg and it was so sad because the chicken who laid it had been so sad. And I'm like, well, what happens if I put sadness energy into my body? Well, it's going to make me sad.
Mm.
So I stopped being able to eat anything that had fear energy, sadness energy, or death energy in it. So
Yes.
that really limits what you can eat, right? And so then I'm like,
That's
well, show
really,
me,
yeah.
like, show me what I can eat. Like, what are we supposed to eat? And so basically, the only food or one of the only foods in the world that wants to be eaten are fruits. It's a part of their reproductive cycle. When animals eat them, they poop out the seeds, the tree grows. Um, Even things like wheat, it doesn't want to be eaten. When you cut it down, it dies, right? It doesn't want. I have a beautiful plant here next to me, and I would never just go and just rip its head off. I would never do that. But that's
Yeah.
what we do to celery, we just kill it.
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
just don't even think about it. We're so like disassociated from it. And even things like carrots, if you've ever looked how carrots work, so if the carrot is the root, and if you leave it in the ground, it flowers and then it reproduces. But we come and we pull the root out, we kill it, it's dead. So I'm like, well, how can I live in a way where I'm not hurting plants, I'm not hurting animals? And that was fruit. So I started researching it. I've got a whole podcast on this, by the way, if you want to go check it out in more detail. Just type in Luke Scott Fruitarian on YouTube or anything. Um, and I started learning that there are so many humans who are fruitarians or frugivorous, so they mostly eat fruit. I call
Mm.
myself high fruit. It's like 90% of what I eat is fruit. Um, and sometimes I go 100% fruit for a while, but there's a lot of tasty non-fruit things that you might indulge in every now and again if you feel to, because we're human.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it set me on this path, Gina, of realizing, wow, most of what I'm eating is processed. It's completely unnatural. It's
Mm.
sad. It's full of chemicals. It's hurting me. I think it's helping me. It's hurting me. So how can I eat in a way that's nourishing? How can I eat in a
Mm.
way that's hydrating? And then I looked at what our ancestors did, and yeah, even just in my like ancestry, my grandma and granddad, my granddad was in the Second World War. Like they used to only have meat once a week. That was
Mm.
just how it was back then. And everyone was fine, you know.
mm.
Now people eat meat three, four, five times a day, and it's crazy.
Yeah, true.
And then you go back further. So I just came back from Thailand, and there's a whole fruitarian community out there. Everybody just eats fruits. They're healthy, strong, muscular, like living life, bright eyes, connected.
Mm.
And it's a cruel time as well to go and live in a way that's aligned with your morals.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you don't like hurting animals, don't eat animal products, right? And go find your way. And we're really close to like gorillas and chimpanzees in our biology, which are mostly
Mm,
frugivorous. They will eat insects and they will eat things they find on the floor, and but they mostly eat fruits. And I think it's a shift again, Gina, in like what we believe, and what we're taught. The whole education system that we've been raised with is purposefully made to take us in a direction, and I don't think it's the best direction.
mm, mm. I agree with you. I think that it's funny. I'm not a vegetarian. I mostly eat. I do try to mostly eat veg, but I notice that whenever I do an event, if I do a retreat, if I do a workshop, I actually only provide vegan. I cook vegan, and I don't provide any meat products or anything that I think would have come from some. I didn't think about veg having pain, but I do. I don't. If I unless I don't think it's as easy here to find um, animal products that haven't gone through some stressors. It's very difficult. I know in Africa, like they eat mostly vegetarian. When I think about it, there's so much veg, but they do eat a lot of meat. But there's so much veg. But the cattle, they have the cattle. They look after. They're not like in cages. They're just wandering around, and you could still say that obviously they suffer because they die, but it's a very different energy. And I find that when you eat food with good high energy, you get that energy within your system. And if I eat something that's not very, if I eat some, I don't know, if I eat too many cakes or something like that, I'll feel the dip. I feel like, oh, I can't actually eat chocolate. And I can eat it, but if I'm meant to be being productive in an office or something, I can't eat it. It makes me fall asleep.
Mm.
It's like it knocks me out. I don't know, don't understand it at all. It's always been like that. But yeah, that's really interesting. I really like the. So when you say with the Q the Q Q R
Curate.
curate, yeah, I was gonna try and say the whole thing, but I should just keep to the acronym. Um, you see people get like a clairvoyant experience.
So I trained in loads of different things. Like what really helped me was meeting this guy. He's called a quantum healer, and
Mm,
he helped me to heal things not just on the physical level, but on the mental level, on the emotional level, and on the energy
mm,
level. Because a lot
mm,
of what's plaguing us and what's causing our anxiety or our depression, it's not necessarily just something that we're doing. It can be something in our ancestry, can be
yeah,
something generationally, can be something collectively.
yeah, yeah.
And especially if you're a more sensitive person like me, you can feel these things. So we have to go and do this work. So I had to clear any time I've been betrayed in my life. I had to go and clear abandonment issues. Had to go and do a lot of inner child healing because my
Mm,
inner child was suppressed for various reasons, and which
mm,
a lot of people's are. It's one of the reasons why I'm really raising my daughters to be the opposite, right? They're so self-expressed, which has its own challenges.
they are gorgeous, though. They're absolutely
It,
amazing young human beings.
it's
Beautiful.
for sure easier to there's a great book I like it calls raising children like domesticating them, right? So we domesticate like we do with a puppy, right? You train it, don't bark, don't be too loud, don't run
Mm,
around, don't bite the furniture, we train it and then it becomes obedient. And that's how most of us were raised. We became
mm,
obedient, domesticated animals. But to raise
mm.
a wild one, to let them be wild, right? Then obviously there's levels to it, right? To let them be a wilder, um, and to be self-expressed, it's a more intense path. It's definitely more challenging. You can
Yeah,
obviously make people be obedient with force and threats and violence,
yeah.
We have to go and unprogram all of that if you were raised with that, because it will still be there subconsciously affecting you. It's why you won't go and make a video. It's why you won't tell your family how you really feel. It's why you feel scared because you're going to be kicked out of your society because you remember a lifetime or somewhere in your ancestry they got kicked out and they literally died, right? Because
Yeah.
they weren't able to be a part of the social events. So we go and we play with all of this stuff, and then I learned hypnotherapy, which was fantastic as well because that's very direct, like
Mm,
reprogramming the mind. And then I learned these energy healing techniques as well, and they're great because they bypass even just logical thought. Uh,
mm.
You, you can help people heal anything with energy healing. So I combine all of those things, and that's what Cure It is. And we
Wow.
say that whatever's happening in your life, we can cure it with Cure It. And
I love that.
I really like this because I have a course for people who need healing. It's called Heal Yourself. It's a three-part course.
Mm,
People are using that for anxiety, and they say their anxiety's gone. Financial blocks. Someone said money's flying into my life now since I did the course. I'm like, amazing. People who can't sleep are able to sleep. All these different things. Someone had a pain in her foot for a year, pain gone. Like this is what's possible when you have the right tool.
mm,
But most people don't have access to those tools, so they just take pills. They've got arthritis, they're told they're going to have it forever. They just keep taking steroid injections, but it doesn't get rid of the arthritis.
mm.
And get to the root cause of why it's there. If
Yeah,
you're struggling financially right now, there's a reason. There's something there in your subconscious, and you can change that. You can change anything. So I love helping people get to the root of like why their thing is there, why they're being blocked, or why they're in
yeah.
pain, whatever. And it's so fast. So yeah,
Abs-
if anyone's interested in that, just get in touch, and we can certainly talk about either getting you the healing or you can come and learn how to do it. If you're already a healer, come learn how to do it. Um, and this is what I shout from the rooftops about, Gina, because especially with young children, do you know that in America, 25% of high school kids are on medications now? And
Wow.
those medications are for totally curable diseases, like completely curable. And it is insane to me that we're not taught how to do that. So,
Yeah,
passion project and a big part of the mission to change the education system, change the healthcare system, the food production system, and create a whole next generation of people who are educated, can
yeah,
thrive, have good
yeah,
emotional intelligence, good relationship skills.
yeah.
So, yeah, thank you
Fantastic.
for helping with that by having me on the show. This
No
is all,
problem, no problem. We're going to be wrapping up in a second. And actually, what you just said about the healing, and I just quit smoking using the Alan Carr method. And that was without patches, without nicotine, any of that stuff. And because, as you said, there's always a way to do some without all the extra things that the pharmaceutical companies try to put on. So, before you go, could you tell people about your television program? And you've mentioned a few times where they can get you. And I will ask you a quote, actually. I'll ask you for your quote. You can tell me your
yeah.
quote and then you can do the rest.
Sure, of course, be my absolute pleasure. So I have had my own TV show in the past called the Standout Online Show. I've had my own radio shows and podcasts, and I actually just started a new TV show. It's on a channel called newrealitytv.com. So watch this space that's coming out soon. We're just going to be launching the first episodes. It's all very exciting, and it's a completely conscious TV network. So all the people on there are conscious presenters, all
Mm,
doing good stuff. This is one of the things you said, Gina. Like you see a lot of negative things on social media, so you have to choose to subscribe to the positive channels. Right?
yes.
Don't watch CNN. Come and watch New Reality TV. It's like a switch, right? Instead of
Yes.
watching a Netflix show about serial killers, come to New Reality TV and watch a show about consciousness.
Yeah.
It's like it's a switch.
100%.
We get to choose. We get to choose what we feed our brain. And yeah, if anyone is interested in anything I'm doing, you can head to lukescottofficial.com. That's my website. Or drop me a message, drop me an email, info@lukescottofficial.com. And it'd be my absolute pleasure. I've got so many good ways to support you. free things, paid things, certifications, anything that you need. And one of my favorite quotes is it's a Henry Ford quote,
Mm-hmm.
and it says, "Whether you believe that you can or you can't, you're right." But whether you believe that you can or you can't, you're right. And
Oh
if you
my
believe you
God.
can heal, then you can. If you believe you can't heal, then it's very difficult. And I wish every doctor watching this, instead of just telling people you can never heal your diabetes, you can never heal your arthritis, just go and do a YouTube search, type in how to heal, put whatever the thing is, and then put holistically. How to heal arthritis holistically, how to heal diabetes holistically. Whatever the thing is, you will find thousands of people who've healed it, and then you can follow their path. Imagine if doctors did that instead of saying diabetes is a life sentence, arthritis is a life sentence.
Mm,
It's not. It's crazy. It's totally nonsense.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. I've had such a nice time talking to you. As I said to everybody watching, please love, like, share, subscribe, do the whole lot. And I'll leave all of Luke's information in the comments below. Thank you. Bye.